Hello Internet and welcome to episode 2 of the Spigot plugin tutorial series, and today we're going to be covering how to implement commands. Now, one thing I want to immediately touch on is my use of static in the first episode, which one of my friends Jan from the CodeVision Discord pointed out. This is considered static abuse because there's a faster, more convenient way of actually sending this message to console, which I want to touch up right now. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this line of code and replace it with something more efficient. So to start off, we're going to type in get server, which actually gets the server object for this plugin is on. And from here we can get the console sender without the use of abusing static. And then we can do our send message. Hello, Spigot. There, which will do the exact same thing as the other one without having to abuse any static. Now, for the premise of this video, I want to talk about commands, how to create them, and how to register them, and how to parse arguments. So to get started, we're going to create a new class. Right click, click new, and click Java class. And here we can type in whatever we want. I'm going to call it Hello Spigot Command because that's what we're going to create, and just click enter. Now, for a class to be able to be interpreted as a command for Spigot to be able to register it, it must implement command executor like that. Now you're going to get this red line here, and it's going to yell at you. And all you have to do to fix this is simply hover over this, click Alt and enter, and implement methods. And you'll see on command there, which you can click enter and it'll immediately do so. Now you have a proper command class setup. What this does is it adds an override method called onCommand, which returns a boolean. This method is called whenever the command that we register this with is called, which we will get to registration later, but for now just don't worry about that bit. I'm just going to return false at the bottom of this to make sure that it goes away. So in order to check if the sender is an instance of player or something, if in case we want this to only register or happen when a the sender is a player, we could do a check of like if sender instance of player, but I think the console should be able to send this command. We can create a constructor for the class. So when we make a new one of these, we can pass the Hello Spigot class into here. So we don't have to use any static at all. To create a constructor, simply you do public Hello Spigot command with parenthesis, like that. And make sure you spell it correctly with lowercase l. Oh, that's bad. Like that. And so, inside of the constructor, we'll pass in a need for a Hello Spigot. We'll do Hello Spigot. And then, inside the class itself, we'll have a private Hello Spigot instance. And then we'll say this dot Hello Spigot equal Hello Spigot. So if you don't know what this means, a constructor for a class is like when we type in something like, I don't know, new string, which is redundant, but you can. That parenthesis right there is a constructor for the string class. And so that's what we'll have to call every time we type new Hello Spigot command. We'll have to give it an instance of the main class. And so now we can actually do hello spigot dot get server dot get console sender dot send message hello spigot without abusing any static or making anybody mad. So to register a command to a command, we have to go back to the main class, and inside the onEnable we can do get command, the name of the command, which we'll just do hello spigot, and then we'll do dot set executor a new Hello Spigot command. This. Now, if you're intrigued or confused, I'm going to break this down into a few different steps, rather. So I'm going to hit Control and slash to comment that out. So first, we want to get a new instance of our command. So we'll do Hello Spigot command. Hello Spigot command equal new. I have a CMD equal new Hello Spigot command this. So, like I said, we created that constructor that needs a Hello Spigot. Well, what are we inside right now? A Hello Spigot instance. So we're just going to pass this in for the Hello instance, or for the Hello Spigot instance. And we have to create a new one so we can set the executor for it. So we're going to do Hello Spigot, or we're going to do get command Hello Spigot dot set executor Hello Spigot command. You can do this all in one line, but I broke it up into two different lines so I could further explain. So get command Hello Spigot is getting a command from the plugin.yml, which we will add in a moment, and setting the executor, meaning set the code to run to Hello Spigot command. So whenever this is typed, it'll run this on command method in here. We can also change, don't do that, never mind. Another thing that I should have told you to do is actually create a new package, which is somewhere in here. Where's package? Package, and name it commands. Then we're just going to drag and drop the hello spigot command there and refactor it, because you want to stay organized when you're writing your code, and you don't want to make anything go, haywire. So we've registered the command and are on enable, and everything is fine. So when the player himself types /hello spigot in the console, it'll say hello spigot, hopefully. So same as last episode, we're going to do view, tool windows. Oh, actually, no, we're not. Once you register the command, you actually have to create it in the plugin.yml. The way to do this is to do commands and then the name of it, hello spigot, which requires a description, command used to relay hello spigot in console. The usage is simply /hello spigot. Now, YML formatting is weird. It has to be key, and then new line space space, 2 spaces or 4 spaces, I believe, both work. And then another key and another key, 2 spaces. So following that, commands, 2 spaces, the name of the command, 2 spaces, description, and then usage. If we needed a new command, we would just add it right here. So other command, and then description and usage. But we're not doing that today. We only have one command. So now we can go ahead and go to view, tool windows, and Maven. Mine's already here, so I'm going to double click package. I'm going to give that a moment to run, and while that does that, I'm going to go ahead and go to my games and others. Yeah, my games and others, test server, and have it right here. Open up the target, and remember, we only want this one, not the shaded, not the original, this one. So I'm going to show and explore here. I'm going to copy with Control-C, go to my plugins, Control-V, replace the file in the destination because I have it from the old video. Now we're going to go ahead and start the server itself, which may take a moment. Now it's no longer going to say anything in console immediately, but instead I'm going to go ahead and get a Minecraft application running here, which should only take me a few seconds. To connect to your server to test your plugins, it's quite simple. You go to your multiplayer and type in local host with your server running and join. And well, it would help if I was in the right version of Minecraft, which is not hard to change. So once in your Minecraft client, you can click multiplayer, direct connect, and type in localhost into your server address. You can also add it as a server, but I prefer this way. And as long as your server is running and you click join, it'll log you into the server, and it'll log into the console for clarification, saying UID of player Chris UMB is yada yada yada, logged in with entity ID 293 or whatever number. Doesn't really matter. So now you know that you're in your server. You can type, this is my server. Everything's fine and dandy. So we're going to test our command by doing hello spigot. As we did, it's returning that in chat because we returned false here at the end of here, which is something I did intentionally so I could show you why, because this is a common thing I see people complaining about. They say, oh, why is it saying the usage in chat? Usually it's because you're returning false when in reality you want to return true. You only want to return true when someone's doing it correctly, but in many cases you might find yourself returning true constantly at all times because you don't like the look of it saying that in chat, which I don't either. You can manually check to see if they've done something wrong and throw your own kind of personalized message of an error, which is a lot more cleaner looking. So now that we fix this, we can repackage. And once it's done packaging, we can go to our target, copy, and paste. One thing I want to touch on as well is never ever type reload. It is very bad for your server and is just, it doesn't manage plugins and doesn't do anything properly. It's bad. It's very bad, and my friend Tom would kill me if I typed reload in a tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and type stop. I'm going to go back here and restart the server with the start.bat file. Now that it's started, I can go direct connect, join my localhost server, and type /hello spigot. Fantastic. So everything's working and there's no weird message coming back. So now you may be thinking, that's great, but what if I don't want to log it to the console, but send it to the player instead? Well, we can easily do that without much hassle. So, to get the command sender to be a player instead, to check if it's a player, well, fun fact, if we actually look at this object, it's an interface. So, let's go ahead and look at the player object. I'm going to show you something. The way I'm doing this, by the way, is control and then clicking. Well, this interface extends human entity, conversible, and command center, meaning this player object, or this command center, could be an instance of a player. Well, how do we check that? Simple. We type if sender instance of player. So now we can confirm for a fact that the sender is indeed a player and not a command sender from like the console or from a command block or anything like that. We know for a fact that it's a player. So how do we get a player object from this? Well, we do player equals casting of sender to player. If you don't know what casting is, it just says, hey, reassign this as a player instead of a command sender, because this is a player after all. We can do this. Never cast things without checking if it is an instance of that, because that can lead to errors and that's not good. You always want to check, especially with commands, because there's a lot of things that can send commands. So, one thing I want to touch on is the wonderful player object that we have. The player object has so many great methods, like get display name, set display name, get player list name. You can check if they're sprinting, set their sneaking. You can set sleeping ignored. You can do a lot of cool things. Play notes, so you can play sounds. And that's all from this one object. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually send them a message with the player.send message. And we're going to say hello, something like hello, comma, player.getName plus from Spigot. And then return true. So you might be thinking, oh, well, what's all this mumbo jumbo here? Well, this is simply concatenating their name to this middle of this string, which hopefully you can kind of deter from the way this is laid out, but if not, I'll explain it a bit. Player.getName is a method inside the player object that returns their hard name, not their display name, because you can change your display name, but you can't really change your actual hard-coded name into the server. So that's cool. But what if we want to have a special thing happen when they are a console sender? You know, if the console's sending the command. Well, you might think, oh, well, right here we'll just do hello spigot dot get consoles or get server dot get console sender dot get console sender dot send message. Now you would almost be right to do this, but there's one thing that you want to think about. What if just because it's not a player, this doesn't mean that this is the console sending it? That doesn't mean this is going to get ignored and this is definitely the console here. Because, well, there's actually a command block, or there's a command block sender. I don't remember what it's called exactly, but there's plenty of other senders that could be sending the command instead of just the console or the console. So we still want to check if sender instance of console command sender. So we can be extra sure that it is the console and nothing else. If it is a console command sender, then we can for sure do hello spigot dot get server dot get console dot send message hello console from Spigot. Right. So now we know for a fact that this happens to be a return true. So now we know it's the console sending the command and not anything else. This looks a lot cleaner as well from my previous way of doing a tutorial. You have to have return true at the bottom of this no matter what, just in case either of these checks fail. Just return true. It's fine. So again, this is registered over here as we've covered already. We're going to go ahead and package this. I'm going to go to my games. And I'm going to open up my plugins folder again. I'm going to do Control, Show in Explorer, copy, paste, and then start.bat. Open up a Minecraft client. We can go ahead and test this bit by doing hello spigot. It says hello console from Spigot. Go here, Minecraft direct net localhost, do /hello spigot. And hello Chris UMB from Spigot. Fantastic. Now moving on to the next portion of this video. Another module of this entire series, or a concept of commands I wanted to touch on, was command argument parsing. Now arguments are the extras on the end of an argument, like hello spigot give, hello spigot hello spigot user. That is an argument. That's the first argument. Now if you haven't noticed, we have an array list of strings that represent the arguments that the player has typed. This is only filled with every string after the initial command. Well, for this bit here, I'm just going to work with the player and not really worry about anything else. So if the sender is not an instance of player, we're just going to go ahead and return true because we don't care about them right now. Otherwise, player equals player sender. Now we know for a fact that this is a player because we're checking if it's not a player, we're just going to return. So we know for a fact this is indeed a player at this point in time. Now, we can get the arguments passed in. You want to always check the length of the arguments before you just do args like 5 or something. You want to check if the args, that length, is at least greater than or equal to 1. So we have at least one argument in here, right? So at the very least, we know there's one. So let's grab that argument by doing string first arg equal args 0. If you didn't know, arguments or array lists are 0 indexed, meaning that 0 is 1, 1 is 2. It's kind of stupid, but it also kind of makes sense from a very, very low level programming, area. So yeah, it's 0 index. 0 is the first thing in this argument array. So if we type slash hello spigot user would be this first argument here. Now we can do player.sendMessage hello spigot argument equals plus argument. No, our first arg. Alright. And then we could just return true here. But otherwise, if this is equal to 0 or it's less than 1, then that means there's no argument. So we just do player.sendMessage hello spigot again. So it's quite simple. Again, I'll just do a quick recap. If it's not a player, return. Otherwise, cast to a player. If there's at least one argument in here, we're going to grab that argument and send it to the player and then return. Otherwise, there's no arguments. We're just going to send them a message saying hello spigot. Now we can go ahead and package this again while I go ahead and open this all up because I closed it earlier. Take this version that we just packaged and put it back in here. This is the target folder. Again, if I have to clarify, show in Explorer. It'll show up. That is what we're looking at here. So, after we've done this, we're going to go ahead and go back here and click the start.bat file. Go to Minecraft, load it up quickly, hopefully it... Faster. Anyway. So yeah, once we get into Minecraft, we can go ahead and join the server and test this out a bit. Again, we're only doing it for players, so hello spigot on the console side does absolutely nothing. But if we go in as a player and do something like slash hello spigot, it'll say hello spigot. But if we add something like Dave at the end, or tech nerder, or Tom, it'll tell us the argument, because that's what we instructed it to do, is if there is at least one argument. Now we could do something like January, and it'll only say Jan because we are asking for the first argument. Even though we're asking for at least one argument, we're only calling for the first argument. That's how you can parse arguments from a command if you wanted multiple arguments in your commands. So say we wanted a specific permission for this command to run. They have to have a permission. Outside of this, I'm going to go ahead and do private string permission equals hello spigot.use. I'm just going to use this. I'm going to call it use perm. Alright. You don't have to set it up this way. You can directly type it in. It wouldn't matter, but I'm going to do it for this way. So for this video, or for this concept, I'm going to immediately assume, or I'm going to assume that the only time we want this to fire is when the player types it. So we're going to go ahead and do if this is false, sender is not instance of player. We're going to go ahead and just return true because we don't want to mess with anything that's not a player. Now we can do player equals, you've seen this before a few times now, sender, and cast that to a player. Now that we have access to the player object, we can go ahead and do a few things. There's a special method inside the player object called player.hasPermission, which takes in a string name. So we can simply do if player.hasPermission use perm, then we can do player.sendMessage hello spigot, else player.sendMessage you shall not pass. So something simple is this, which compares their permission list to a string, and if they don't have it, then they get this message. If they do have it, they get this message. Now, I don't have a permission plugin set up on this server right now, so this is the message we should get since we don't have that permission. But there's popular ones like PEX or permissions X and luck perms, which are the most widely used permission things for groups and stuff like that. So you always want to incorporate permissions into your plugins, and I'm sure you'll find a way to do that. So yeah, for the sake of this tutorial, this is all I'm going to really do here. Go ahead and package this again for the 5th time. Copy it after it's done. Then go ahead and stop your server and restart it once more. Go ahead back to server, direct, and join the server. Now, if we type /hello spigot, it should say you shall not pass, simply because we don't have permission for that. I don't know if that works like that, but if it does, yeah, it does. So when you opt somebody, they get all the permissions. I don't think that's how it exactly works, but unless your plugin checks against it, they should bypass permission checks, because if you don't have a group manager or anything like that, it assigns all permissions technically to you, or whoever's opt. So you can bypass it that way with opt. So now that we have permission, it says hello spigot, but if I deopt Chris and then go back and type it, we don't have permission anymore. Or wait, we do. I could not deopt Chris because Chris isn't a person. If we deopt myself, now we don't have permission again. So there you go. That's how you create a command. That's how you parse arguments, and that is how you register a command, and that is how you use permissions for commands. Hopefully, on the next episode, I'll be going over events and how to listen for them and how to register them. See you then.